Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I take this opportunity to welcome you to the last webinar of ACTT. I am Linda Mwibanda and I was your instructor. In this webinar, we are joined in by the instructors that were there in the ACTT, and we also have a guest speaker, that is Maud. And Maud Ajele Ashong Elliott, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that name correctly, is a lecturer in IT studies at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. Her research interests relate to the role of women in technology and digital transformation. She is actively involved in STEM initiatives across Ghana to encourage young women at the high school level to pursue STEM courses at tertiary institutions. She continues to support and counsel these women throughout their education. In addition, Ms. Ashong Elliott advocates for safe internet and encryption by serving as the Vice President of the Internet Society Ghana chapter, where she teaches women how to monitor and protect their children's online activity. She has also taught programming in Scratch and Python to young children to encourage more participation in STEM programs. During COVID-19, she was selected and trained as a trainer of Moodle so that higher education continues during pandemic by the Association of Africa Universities and has been training many universities to date. She is an IBM-trained educator in mobile development and cloud development. Maud has a strong interest in gender issues as well as monitoring and nurturing children online. She is an ICANN 78 and ICANN 80 fellow and a member of Women in Cybersecurity. Yes, our guest speaker has a good and rich profile. Before I call her to start off, I would like to set some ground rules. During her presentation, if you come across a question or if a question pops up in your mind, I kindly encourage you to direct that question to the Q&A section so that we'll address those questions at the end of the guest speaker's presentation. Maud, I welcome you to start.
Thank you very much, Linda. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you are joining us. I'm privileged and honored to be invited to be the guest speaker for today's section. And the title or topic we want to deal with is cybersecurity concerns in emerging technologies. So before we start, we need to understand what an emerging technology is, or what are emerging technologies. The qualifying nouns are emerging, something that is coming up. And when you talk about technology, we are using it to solve a problem. So an emerging technology is a novel or a rapidly evolving technology, which is currently under development or in the early stages of adoption. And you realize that when we have an emerging technology, the impact is broad and very quick. And not just that, it's causing a change in the way we work and the way we live. Some of the characteristics of an emerging technology is its innovativeness. You realize there's an introduction of new material, new processes, new methodologies that can be used. There's also potential for growth. There's also, there's a disruptive impact. Everybody is hooking up onto it. Everybody wants to use those models to manage their businesses, their lives, their market dynamics. Everybody is hooking onto it because everybody's having that effect of change. But even with that, there are uncertainty and risk with it. But many are enjoying it for the short term without really looking at what it means, what is going to happen in the long term. And normally emerging technologies have interdisciplinary nature because a lot of fields are able to use it and are able to help it to develop. And since we are in our contest, we want to introduce to you some of the emerging technologies that are being used in education. We have augmented reality, data analytics or learning analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, cloud computing, automation, 5G technologies, gamification, enterprise resource planning solutions for your schools, digital masterclasses, payment gateways, and many more. Now, I would want to look at some of the emerging technologies in education that were outlined or named. Cloud computing. It's facilitating storing or the storage and management and the sharing of educational resources over the internet. I know most of us definitely have accounts. We are all hooked to emails, and these emails have storage capacities. Google has Google Drive, and then we have the others. And we always make sure that we have space. I think now Google makes sure that you pay annually for bigger space. And it's important to have these facilities because data is of essence today. Even when we are buying our smartphones, we always go in for the ones who could have a bigger storage as well as a faster RAM for our work. And why do we need to store these data, educational materials? For collaboration. Now it's a global village. I'm sure by now you would have had contacts or colleagues from different countries. Even if you have assignments, I'm sure you collaborate on one of these, cloud computing methods for you to collaborate and do your work. So these are some of the reasons. And it's an emerging technology which we should take advantage of. We also have Internet of Things, where we connect to the physical devices to the internet with the intention of creating a network of interconnected devices that could collect and exchange data. So you see in the learning environment, we could have real-time data, and then where we could also automate our attendance. We could also make sure that our campus resources are managed, data collected, and then at the end of the day, make sure that all our students or even learners are up to speed. We also have virtual reality. This normally, which is used, in different areas, but mainly in medicine and engineering, where you get to have an immersive learning experience through simulation. So you could see from a picture that the students are having a real feel of what they are designing and how it's going on. So these are some of the emerging technologies we're using in education. Our virtual labs and remote labs are very essential and also helps with simulation. As a computer scientist, now there's nothing new under the sun. We have virtual labs. The reason why we use them is some of the programs that we have to run, we do not have the facility. And if another university has that kind of resource, they could give us space for us to create a virtual lab for us to have access to these facilities. There's no need buying a different system when another has it and is not using it all the time. And it helps. And it helps us to run the programs, our codes, and then we go on. We also use our mobile phone for learning. I'm sure we do it all the time, but we've not realized that it's also a form of emerging technology. We use it for different things. Smartphones, our tablets, our portable devices. We use it. Why? Because we can carry it anywhere, we can study it anywhere. So we use the word ubiquity. And of course, you realize that the smartphones that we have now have high RAMs and also are able to save data, play videos. You're able to have a self-paced learning at any point in time. And it's a good way of also studying. We have smart boards or interactive whiteboard, which is replacing the traditional ones. And you could go online and even get your research done whilst during your teaching period. Get real-time videos. It also helps in support, multiple users to interact. And it also helps. Other emerging technologies, which is important for us to note, that's learning analytics. This is a tool which enables educators to track performance or identify the learner's gap. It's important to note how your students are doing. And we use this tool to do that. It helps you to know your students, get to know the educational outcome, and see where the gaps is for you to also help them. Teaching is not only about sharing knowledge, but it's about helping with the overall upbringing, the holistic upbringing of the individual to whom you are sharing this knowledge with. Not just them assimilating. That is why it's always good to have feedback. That's why we organize examinations. So we have these kind of feedbacks, but you need to monitor them during the whole semester or term so that you could support in bridging those learning gaps that you could identify. Then we have the blockchain technology, which also helps in securing and making sure that the academic credentials that are churned out are the right ones. It's difficult to study, see how you've joined these courses up till now. And imagine somebody who has not taken part in any of the assignments and lessons, and then design and gives him or herself a certificate. So we use blockchain to make sure that our academic credentials are authentic and it can be verified by employers and institutions to whom you are submitting them to. We also have gamification. This is one technology which is, for me, is emerging at a very fast rate, that I still feel we are underutilizing it. It's because if you need to create content, this is what gamification does. So assuming the topic you are teaching, you decide to create the content such that the students will use a game. You design them as a game and they play it. They play the game. I'm telling you, they over time, from research, they understand the topic, they know it because they were using it as a game. It's a method. But now, how many teachers will want to sit and then make sure these lessons are coded for our children or students or learners to use? But I know over time, we'll be able to convert our notes into games for them to also use it as a learning methodology. But it really, for those who have done that, it makes learning very enjoyable and effective. Hence, this is how we apply them in education. For AI, we do personalized learning systems and intelligent tutoring systems. For virtual reality, augmented reality, we do immersive learning environments where you concentrate their knowledge and focus it for learning. For blockchain is to secure credential management, as I've just said. And for IoT is to enhance collaboration and resource management. So you can see this is it. What are the benefits? Collaboration, efficiency, and personalization. Learning learning at a self-paced method should be encouraged. But most of the time, we have learning and there's within a period of time. But even within that, we should be able to personalize it for people to learn their own pace and then get the kind of understanding that they need. And then why these technologies for accessibility and inclusivity is important. We want everybody to be part. So geographical barriers shouldn't be the issue. Everybody should be on board and then engage with and interact and share experiences with everyone. Concerns. We all knew that emerging technologies are great, but other concerns, we want to discuss about 3 of them quickly. For IoTs, there's a huge concern about device vulnerability. These devices talk to each other. Immediately one is corrupted or is attacked, immediately that happens, it means that there's a high probability that device will transfer those anomalies, those viruses, anything that is going to disrupt. When that happens, we have issues. We have cybersecurity threats. Phishing could occur, all the attacks that could occur. So anytime there's a weak security protocol to connected devices, we should know that all the network is at risk. We also have botnet issues. What botnet does is to also inject, it could be virus, malware into the network. And what it also does is to populate it. If it's an email, we send a lot of emails for it to become like spam. We would also conduct the DDoS attacks. So it ends up taking over the whole networks. That's a huge concern when it has to do with IoTs. And you know that for IoTs, the devices are talking to each other. So realize that communication will break if our device is such that it's even locking our doors, our lab doors and all that. It could be locked in. So I want us to look at it as a security concern. And of course, data privacy. When that happens, it means that unauthorized access is given, and if there's sensitive data, that will be taken or copied. There was this case where there was a DDoS attack, which was orchestrated using a weapon called a Mara bonnet, which was the primary source of a malicious attack in Europe and in the US. So we realized that internet service across the whole of Europe and US was affected. Just to let you know that these things happen. And then the strength of the attack was about 1.2 terabytes per second. So no one could have access. We are not talking about a country. It was 2 different continents being attacked at the same time. How do we mitigate this? Of course, we need to ensure that IoT devices are on separate networks so that we can monitor them daily. We need to prioritize security, especially at the development phase. and always keep our devices up to date. And that is so important. That way, there will be less infection. And then we need to promote authentication, a robust authentication mechanism. And we always talk about cyber, we always deal with strong passwords, strong encryption. Let's protect our sensitive data. We could also, another concern, AI, adversarial attacks, where AI systems could be manipulated. AI systems always normally deal with modules, and assuming that the module is manipulated, that tells you that the output would also be affected. The whole system will not operate as it's supposed to be. When the wrong data is also introduced into the system, definitely the trained data that will come out will not be the right data set that we want. And if there's also an unauthorized access to the system, definitely the AI model will not be the right one that we want to use. The case study that occurred was where a finance worker had to pay out several amounts of millions after a video call with a deepfake chief financial officer. Was thinking that is the right person he was dealing with, and see the amount of money he had to pay out. So these cyber attacks are real. How do you mitigate it? We need to enhance our AI models by training them with adversarial examples. Okay, so that's what happens. When we create these models, we need to also create these adversarial attacks. What do you think your attacker will bring in? Design it, use it to train your data so that they will be robust enough to also recognize them and then deal with it. This is how we normally do our form of coding. You just don't develop a system. You need to find another way of counteracting that system, and then use your system to work on it. Make it more robust so that when you pilot it or when you let it go live, it will sustain or to withstand whatever attacks that comes. So that is how we do it. So the AI models must be trained using these adversarial models to make them robust. We need to ensure data integrity as well and confidentiality, especially when we are implementing strong encryption. It's extremely important. We need to monitor our AI systems for unusual behavior. If something is going on quickly, it has to be dealt with. So you see that when you are dealing with AI system, it has to be a daily based kind of monitoring. We also need to make sure we have explainable output to make it easier for us to identify. Yeah, and of course, ethical guidelines. And for ethics, maybe because I'm also into policies when AI came and how it's being used, especially Africa, we were just there thinking we should have guidelines to guide the use of AI, especially ChatGPT and all other AI models. And I was just asking myself, we are not developing, yet we want to put guidelines and policies in place. Okay, that's by the way. Another concern is cloud computing. We cloud computing because we all have some form of storage in the cloud, all of us. And definitely there are data breaches. There are misconfigurations sometimes, so our data systems are exposed to vulnerabilities. We have vulnerability in the cloud that provides supply chain that can impact customer environments. And then the insider threats. So with all this, this was even one interesting one. It happened just this May, where the cyber criminals had raided the BBC pension fund and then stole records of over 25 people. This was about data. right? But they had unauthorized access to the database and then took personal data of these people, and that is not right. You see that now when you deal with pension fund, I mean the people's insurance numbers, their birth, that's personal data which must be protected. But this was done just this year, and it's ongoing. So what do we do to mitigate that? Regular backups everywhere. Sometimes I wonder whether we should pay for all of that, because personally I use Google Drive, I use Dropbox, I have OneDrive, maybe because of the devices too that we use. I have iCloud because of the phone. You have all these storage. You wonder, well, you can't keep one only. That's at least what I've learned over the years. One or two to save your data and try to clean up. It's not just all data, else you could also have storage but will not have anything. When the time when you need to store what you feel is valuable, you would have no space. So it's also, you must be cleaning it as much as you can. There should be encryption, right? Strong encryption to protect your data. You should also employ data loss prevention solutions to prevent unauthorized data exfiltration. And then continuous monitoring of your resources. And 4 misconfiguration and vulnerabilities. What are some of the best practices? We've talked about all these mitigations. So in summary, I just want to put it into 5 so that at least you could go home with something. Data practices. You should implement secure data practices. And then what else? You should regular model auditing and monitoring. Okay. Good data practices. Monitor daily. Make sure that the authentication, access controls are robust. Also make sure there's transparency in the things you do, especially with the AI. When you do that, you realize that when there's a change, you see it very quickly. And of course, ethical considerations. You realize that you mentioned the word ethical. That tells you that, I mean, it's very open, but we are just saying be ethical, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Now, how do we prepare for inherent risk in these emerging technologies? How do we, because we need to prepare, they are there. What do we do to prepare? We need to have continuous education and training in what we're doing. What you are doing now is part of it, about these different types of threats, about cybersecurity, about the emerging technologies and things that are happening is important. And it gives you knowledge. And doing that, you become aware of your environment and the things going on around you. You should also do some risk assessment and management. When you do that all the time, when there's some form of anomalies, it will be detected early, and that is important. Robust security measures, regulatory compliance, and then you need to plan for incident response. I'm sure you've gone through it and you know these, but we're just reiterating that there are things you must prepare for so that you are not caught unaware. And then you should have collaborative efforts. It's extremely important. Just 2 months ago, we were in Kigali for ICANN when we found out that Liberia was hit. The CCTLD for Liberia was hit. So the civil service, the government, emails, everything was taken over. So having collaborative efforts, ICANN, those of us in the sub-region, because we were in West Africa, it's a neighboring country. So we're called in, how are we handling our .gov, how are we handling, and that is what happened. And it dawned on me, hey, you might be doing something right, especially having a Cybersecurity Authority. And in having that, we realized even in Ghana, we've increased the number of cybersecurity education. Schools are now running masters in cybersecurity, and it has even opened, let's just say, appointments or jobs people. But we need, that tells you the security of our system is of utmost importance to us, and we need to have these bodies to help with standardization and protection. So this is what I have for us this evening. Thank you. And what do we have as practicals? This is ChatGPT. And it came not long ago, yet you could see that it's, as from the definition of an emerging technology, a lot of people are hooked onto it. Everybody is using it. Why are we all using it? Because we feel that we've gained, it's helping us with knowledge acquisition. Others will just go in, ask the questions, copy its answers, and submit as their work. As educators, I'm sure when we give out assignments, you know the performance of your students, but what they'll bring to you, you know that this is not from them. And that's okay. I mean, ChatGPT, it's a great tool. I use it and see. I have 4. For the 4s, I have 3.5, which is the normal one. Okay, so what do you use it for? There's a lot of things we can use ChatGPT for. For learning, you can make different inquiries. Anything. Recently, I submitted a paper for a conference, and I realized in uploading the paper, there was a session that was asked, did you use ChatGPT? Yes or no? The next thing was, if yes, at which section did you use it? The truth is, we are all using ChatGPT, but how are you using it? That is where the ethical part comes in. What ChatGPT is an AI tool. What AI tools do is this. What you give it, it takes it and saves it and improves upon it. When you ask ChatGPT a question, it will tell you what it knows from what others have given it. What others have given it. Rephrase it and then give it back to you. Now, if you do not understand the subject, whatever answers is given to you, we don't know whether it is the right thing or not. How to use ChatGPT is to know the subject you want to deal with. You need to know how to ask the right questions. If you do not do that, how do you advance? I think I tried to do something with cybersecurity within the week, where I was asking few questions on, I want us to go through this. I intentionally did this for all of us, but for us to just go through it calmly. Okay, so I asked it to, I was just dealing with something of cybersecurity in 5G network. And I was asking it to how we do computational methods like ODE, or how does it apply ODE in cybersecurity network? And it gave me a very interesting answer. When it did that, the next thing I did was to, based on this scenario. So it's a way of how you ask the questions, and that is how you get your answers. Others who have ChatGPT will not get the maximum value out of it. Now, it has defined it and given you how it is applied, is how ODE is applied in cybersecurity. Now I asked you that based on the scenario, you need to develop an ODE module equation that will not spread malware. And it did. It gave me a very interesting equations. I looked at it for a while, studied it, and realized, okay, it fitted what I wanted to do. When it was okay, now you see, now I want you to see something. You see 6. There were sessions that I tested it severally. Just to be sure. I checked, I didn't like it, I'll run it again until I got this one, which I liked. After getting that, that was when I now asked it to do, and now I asked a question. As a cybersecurity expert, develop an UDE to understand an unknown interaction of the linear dynamics. And it did that. And even that, I ran it for some time and it worked. So you see that it all depends on how you ask the questions. If you do not ask the questions correctly, you will not get the kind of feedback that you want. So that is something I'm just telling you to note, how you ask your questions. And you should know what you want. You don't expect what ChatGPT is giving you to be the answer. It's very wrong. You should know it. It tells you something, you must check. You must check. You are academics. You are teaching. You must check whether it is the right thing that it is teaching you to do. And it's important. I mean, we could all start something. I don't know. I wanted an interactive class. I don't know whether I still have some time. Wanted an interactive class. We could start a new discussion, no matter, anybody can come with a topic where we can all go through how to ask the right questions and gain whatever answers we have to. And there are so many things I do with this. Let's see, this week I also had to go through leadership styles and asked it to do a write-up. So maybe this is a bit cooler. I wanted my class to ask a question so that we can go through it as practicals. You know, I tried to do some things earlier on so that it will be easier for us to look at. But I don't know whether it will be too difficult for my audience. Okay, let's see. This particular one was a very small assignment. Okay, so this give me articles or journal publications which describes the use of compost as to improve CEC, moisture content, soil fertility. And then chat will search sites for you. Now, this thing that you are seeing doesn't mean that it is the right thing. You are seeing some quotes here. You need to go back and search for these papers. That is the message I'm giving. That just because ChatGPT is giving you results does not mean it is the right one. You need to go back online, go to the right databases, search for the papers, be sure about its content before you add it as part of your references. And that is very important. Okay, so this is for ChatGPT. Now, assuming your students have submitted some paper assignments to you, what do you do? So when your students submit the assignments to you, you must also do due diligence to see the effort they place in. I'm introducing this because some of you might think, oh, this work is knowing the the capability, I mean, intellectual capability of your students. You don't just outrightly dismiss that this child copied. Don't. Go back and check with GPT-0. So it's just like ChatGPT. You can sign onto it. And what you do is to upload the assignment, and then it will tell you the amount of percentage of human it is and the percentage of AI that was involved. It's important. Let's not just trash it out. Let's encourage our students to use the tools, but in a good way, such that what Chat does is that it gives you an idea, it gives you knowledge, but let's encourage them to go back and ascertain the facts that has been shown them. They should go back to read more. And then another method of, now we have the tools, but even as educators, one method of making sure that what you are learning, what you have taught the student, is to encourage presentations. It would encourage them to learn and then present. At the end of the day, something will remain. Not everything, but something will remain. So let's start encouraging presentations in most of our teaching methodologies. You know, you have the topic, you know you're going to teach them, but before you start the topic, tell them, if it is a specific textbook, from pages 10 to this, start teaching them how to do group studies. This group, you're going to present on this, and it's maybe break time, 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Talk to us about what this topic is about before you even start the journey. You'll be amazed. They will launch themselves into it before the journey and after the journey. So you encourage them to give you, sort of tell you about what the topic is about. And after you have taught the lesson, give another 10 minutes for them to summarize the whole topic for you, and you'll be amazed. And I've tested that over time, and you realize that, listen, it pushes them, it excites them, and they'll use any tool, anything to make sure that they will learn it and then present it. So let's use different methods to churn out knowledge in our students. So don't just brush off whatever writing they bring. You can use GPT-0 to see the percentage of the human part that is involved with the work, and then encourage them to. I propose that you encourage them to use these tools, but use them in an ethical way. They should learn how to use it to churn out the right work, and then use presentation to also help them to bring out the best out of them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maud. There are a lot of questions. Right now, let us just dive in straight into the Q&A. I have seen some interesting questions. To start with, there's a question. Emerging technology, the creation of AI, is it making good or bad in terms of job opportunities, especially in Africa? Any solution for this? Maud, I'll just still want you to take up this question.
Okay. AI is not replacing any job. When we talk of job evolution, at every point in time, when there's going to be a change, what happens is that it's just a change of job methodology. It's just a change. You know, when we have the rise of the machines, where we're using metals, where we're using the human force and all that, over time, the same job changed in its ways and manners. What we do is to realign ourselves to match these jobs. That is it. Nothing changes. So if you want to make sure you are kept in this century, this is where we are going. So what do? You go and make sure you are also qualified to do these jobs. That's the answer I want to give.
Yeah, sure. I support your answer. AI is not taking away anybody's job. If you think about it, actually, it's making our work easier. So the best thing to do is for you to improve your technology skills so that you cope up, or rather you are able to fit into these new emerging trends. There's another question, Mood, I'll still want you to take it up. AI assistance in emerging technology has increased the rate of students' weak brain stored and examination malpractice. What is the solution for this? And I think this is an interesting question for you, Maud, to handle.
I think I've answered that. You know, the way, maybe that's my nature. I'm excited when new things come up, and then, or maybe because I'm a programmer. You know, when something new comes up, the interest is, how do we break this? How do we break it? Listen, it has not, this is what has come. I mean, who will not want to go the easier way of gaining knowledge? Everybody will want to have that. But how are we also handling our teaching methodologies? That must also change. That must also change. That is why I've just proposed that let's increase presentations in our teaching methodologies. Let's push our students to come out and talk to us about what they have learned. Let them tell us with confidence. Let's teach them how to tell us the new knowledge they have gained. Let's change our teaching methodologies to fit what is happening now. And you realize that we still get students to come out well. In my university, many have been asking, how do you do it? That your students come to school early, and most of the time we see them meeting together because of your course. It's because of the teaching methodology. I rarely stand to do any teaching anymore. I make them do the teaching. That is one methodology we must use. This is the topic. Okay, you know that they will definitely go and use AI to get the notes. That's fine. Come and tell us. Give us current references. What does those papers talk about? Tell us what is new. Let's discuss it. So it should be more of discussion, presentation, and then interactive ways of teaching. So let's change our teaching methodology to match what is happening. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that comprehensive feedback. Another question, what are emerging threats and effective defenses with using these new technologies? Blockchain, platform, artificial intelligence. I'll start by responding to it. Then I'll invite the instructors, that is Malusi and Sylvia, to also add some contributions into it. Now, what are emerging threats and effective defenses with using these new technologies? As you know, these new technologies, they come with their benefits and their shortcomings. Some of the emerging threats that come along with them, we have something like some of them come with inherent threats. For example, we have the smart contract vulnerabilities because they're just new and they're disruptive. We have not actually maybe known what is their effective use and what threats they carry. So we have some threats like smart contract vulnerability that are just inherent within the new technology. We also have things like Sybil attacks, whereby an attacker is able to create multiple fake identities. That is when you look at AI, you know, people are able now to generate faces, voices of other people, imitating other people, and they're not who they are. So and this is just to enable them just gain unauthorized access into let's say our sensitive information. Now what can we do to maybe counter these threats? first, we just have to keep on, the way Maud said, we have to keep on doing the continuous training, whereby we familiarize ourselves with the threats, cybersecurity, so that we develop a cybersecurity culture within ourselves. We continuously do audits, or rather maybe, audits of the new technologies, whereby we try and find, or rather penetration testing, we try and find the vulnerabilities within these emerging technologies. We can also decentralize our services. For example, when you're using blockchain technology that is in school, so we can try and decentralize our services, so that when one service is attacked, or rather one platform is attacked, we are not totally in the dark. I want to Malusi and Sylvia to also contribute in this discussion.
Thank you, Linda. I hope you can hear me. I think above what you've mentioned, and maybe I might have missed something. I think one more thing in terms of integrating emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and so on and so forth into our usage within institutions, something to consider would also be providing adequate amount of training to the users of this technology. So students, trainers themselves, providing enough training about the safe usage of something like AI, which has been demonstrated by our presenter today, is important, particularly with regard to the amount of information that you're providing to the AI tool itself. So for example, if you're processing data that belongs to the school using ChatGPT, are you aware that this data is also feeding into what ChatGPT has as a knowledge base? Yeah. So there has to be a lot of training done within the institutions about safe use of AI and how much AI can be integrated as well. I think also to add on what you said about providing training, also we've talked a lot throughout the course itself about safe usage of devices and making sure that our accounts are safe, but having a baseline of digital security should be a good place to start. And then perhaps you can start considering integrating emerging technology into institutions. I'll pass it back to Linda.
Thank you so much, Malusi. There's another question. Hello, is it possible to download the webinars? If yes, how? Yes, these webinars are normally shared with the weekly reports. We normally share them via email and also in the group, so you can still download these webinars. Explain further about Dropbox, especially how to handle it. I will request Maud to tackle this question.
Dropbox. Well, I get Dropbox because I use an HP device. So when you buy an HP device, it comes with it. It's one of those, cloud computing space that you use, just like Google Drive, where you just store your things. So if you want extra space, you pay for it. That's it.
All right. Let us handle one more question. How do we get a VPN? VPN, they're free. There are those which are open source, and there are those which you have to pay for them. So what you do, you just Google the type of VPN that you want, that you prefer, your preferred VPN. Then you download it, and I believe you're able. I know you're able to pay for it online. And also, if you're using the free version, then you do not need to pay for it. So that is how you can get a VPN. You get it online. We have come to the end of our webinar. And before we just close up, I would like to raise up some important aspects. It's a first end of course survey. I encourage you all to take up the end of course survey. This helps us to improve this course and to make it better. Also, we encourage you to key in, or rather to participate in the Tell Us Your Story. How was your journey throughout this course? The end of course, the course will end on 21st of this month. That will be on Sunday. But the assignments, you have one more day to complete your assignments. That one, you have to end it by 22nd of this month, during morning hours, EAT time. Also, there were a lot of questions. People are asking, why have they not gotten their certificates, yet they have completed the course. The certificates will be issued between 25th and 28th. That was communicated in the WhatsApp group. So for those who have not completed their courses, kindly, I encourage you to go back, do the courses. If you have failed, kindly go back and retake the assignments as many times as you can for you to pass. And do this by the end of 21st. Do this by 21st of this month. With that, I thank you all for participating in this webinar, and I thank you all for taking part in ACTT. It was a great journey, and it was an honor for us to interact with you. Goodbye and all the best.